Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Samantha Leighanne and I talk about books. So I am doing something a little different. I haven't done anything like this before. As you guys know, I usually hate making TBRs because I like to allow myself to mood read. However, in the last video that you guys saw, I am rapidly becoming more and more of a fan of horror fiction. Obviously, I have always loved Stephen King, but I want to try and branch that out a little bit. So I went online and I did some research, and I actually do have some books coming to me. I don't have any of them yet, so I will probably be doing a separate actual haul video with some of the things that I have gotten. But I wanted to talk today about some of the books that are kind of in the horror genre that I really want to pick up. First thing, I am not going to be including any Stephen King and any Joe Hill because I do already own all of their books, and we all know that I'm going to read those. So that's a thing. This is a given. Like, we don't need to talk about it. These are books from a variety of authors. Like I said, I don't own them, so I will be posting book covers on the page for you to see. And I don't really know much of anything about most of these books, so I will not be giving any plot synopsis or anything like that. These are just books that I have seen floating around, whether it be Bookstagram or they've been recommended to me by people, things like that. So let's just go ahead and jump into some books. The first book, and I have this one coming to me right now, it is Horror Store. I can't remember the author's name off the top of my head, but it seems like it's gonna be a pretty fun read. So the premise of this one is it's set in a IKEA-like store, and I guess as the workers are like coming into work in the morning, like they're noticing stuff's messed up. So they're like, well, what is happening? Like, somebody has to be staying here at night. Let's figure out who it is. So I think it's like a group of them ends up like staying overnight and stuff starts to happen. This has been recommended to me by a couple of different people, and I also heard about it in a podcast that I started listening to called Books in the Freezer, which is, you know, kind of like a horror themed podcast. I will also put the information for that down below if you are interested. I'm only a couple of episodes in, but I'm really enjoying it so far. So the next one is House of Leaves. This one is more of a psychological horror from my understanding, and I know that Julie from over at Pages and Pens read it, and she's a big baby, doesn't like scary anything, and she really enjoyed it, so I definitely want to add that to my list. Psychological horror is probably my favorite type of horror. The older I get, the more that I find body horror and things like that are not so much my cup of tea. Gratuitous violence and torture just don't do it for me anymore. You know, if it's artfully done, then, you know, we can talk about it. However, you know, when we talk about, say, for example, and this is film, it's not in book, but when we talk about certain horror films like Hostel or like half of the Saw franchise, I just am not, no. I'm not saying anything. If you enjoy those franchises, like, that's awesome. You do you, it's just not for me. So anyway, going back to what we were talking about, House of Leaves, psychological horror. That is really what I am into. So I also have that one coming to me. I'm pretty excited about it. Next up is a horror classic, Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. And I somehow haven't read that yet. I really don't know how. I believe that I've seen the movie, but it's been so many years since I've seen it that I'm not really 100% sure. But again, regardless of whether I've seen the movie, you know, movies and books, usually pretty different. So I want to go ahead and add that one to the list. Next book that I am adding to my list is Summer of Night. This is by Dan Simmons. Never read anything by Dan Simmons, but I see his books all the time on Bookstagram. People talk about what a great writer he is, and so for that reason, he's on my list. Next book is The Ruins. I think the author's name is Scott Smith. I could be entirely wrong on that. This is another one of those classics. I'm pretty sure it's more of a modern classic in terms of horror, and I think this is another one that I'm pretty sure I've seen the movie, but I definitely do want to pick it up at some point. Next up is Kill Creek. I do have this on audio, I think. I'm pretty sure I have it on audio. It was like one of the daily deals or something like that for $2.95, so of course I snatched it up. I have seen pretty good things about it, so I'm pretty excited to get to it. Next up is two different books, and this is by Paul Tremblay. I have seen him floating around in a lot of the accounts that I follow. Both of his book, A Head Full of Ghosts, and Disappearance at Devil's Rock. That one I actually do have coming to me. I found it on Book Outlet for super cheap, and the reviews on Goodreads were pretty good. And some people that I really trust their opinion on things like that have actually read it, so I'm pretty excited to pick that one up. Another quintessential classic is the Amityville Horror. Seen the movie, both of them. I say both of them. I'm pretty sure there's more than two. But regardless, I've seen multiple Amityville Horrors, and I just feel like I want to read the book just to say that I've read the book. So I'm interested to see how I'm gonna feel about it, since I feel like the Amityville Horror is one of the books that launched a lot of different tropes in horror. And, you know, having seen those tropes and read those tropes, I'm just wondering how I'm gonna feel about it, if I'm gonna find it like too campy or something. I don't know. But regardless, I still want to read it. The next two that are on the list are also by the same author, and that is The Troop and The Deep, both by Nick Cutter. I read Little Heaven earlier this year, and I did enjoy it. It wasn't the most fantastic book that I've ever read, but I've heard excellent things about especially The Troop, so I am pretty excited to see what all that hype is about. And the last book that I am going to talk about today is Ghost Story by Peter Straub. I don't have much experience with his writing, actually. The only experience that I have is the books that he wrote with Stephen King, The Talisman and Black House, which I really enjoyed, but I don't have any experience with his writing, you know, just him. So I'm interested to see how that's going to turn out. I'm pretty sure that's another book that I have a copy of that will be coming to me. So I am excited about that. So those are the books that are kind of on my TBR. You know, I'm not going to be reading these all at one time. It's definitely going to be stretched out, but I'm really excited to kind of dip a little bit further into this genre, especially into some of the classics. I know that I am missing some books. There's a lot of books that I have already read, you know, The Exorcist, things like that, but I have a lot of books that I could read. So that being said, if you have any suggestions, comment down below and let me know what are your favorite horror reads if you read the genre. Like I said, don't suggest anything by King or Joe Hill because it's already on my shelves. I already have it. The only other book that I will tell you do not recommend to me is The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. I have not read that book and I won't read it. And the reason that I say that is because remember earlier I talked about how like gratuitous violence and torture I just have a really hard time dealing with. Everything that I have ever heard about that book, people have said that parts of it are really hard to get through. I just don't want to put myself through that. So that's all I have for you guys today. Like I said, if these are books that you have read, comment down below, let me know, are there any that I mentioned that are worth skipping? Do I need to add some to my list? Definitely let me know below. All of my social media links are also down below, so you can find me at all of those places. Like always, if you like what you see and you want to see more, make sure you click thumbs up or hit subscribe if you have not already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.